Today, I wanted to share the 5 biggest things holding back your photography and the reason to why your photos might suck. Starting with one of the biggest problems most photographers overlook, which is not setting a goal. Our brains are wired to seek rewards. Setting an achievable goal triggers that reward system in your brain. Not only does that release dopamine and makes you feel good when you achieve a goal, it also motivates you to push forward. Without having any kind of goal, it makes it easier to lose motivation, and it also makes it so much easier to lose interest in what you're doing and make your work feel stale. And what I like to do first is create a larger goal. Like, let's say, for example, your large goal is, I want to be a full-time photographer. And then you break that large goal down into smaller, more specific goals. This is just a general example, but let's say you want to become a portrait photographer, right? Instead of just going out and shooting whatever, you have a specific goal that you want to implement into your work across the month. Like, your goal could be, I just want to focus on aperture and how that affects my photos in different lighting conditions over the course of a month. Which leads me into my next point, which is trying to do too many things at once. Set some goals, but not too many goals. Keep them simple, because when we try and tackle too many tasks at once, our brains get overwhelmed with information and decisions it has to process. Sorry to get all psychological on you, but that is called decision fatigue, where it's your ability to make decisions deteriorates over time. Actually, a good example of decision fatigue is when you go to a random restaurant, right? And they hand you a menu. It's not even like a menu. It's like a fucking encyclopedia, and it's got 50 billion different dishes on there. And you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna pick. But then you go to somewhere like a fancy restaurant and they hand you a menu. It's one card and it's got 3 dishes on there. And it makes it so much easier to choose what you want. So how does that affect your photography? Well, when we're on a photo shoot, we make a lot of decisions. Your lighting, your angles, your settings, the poses for your subject. Is my subject on time? Does everyone know the location? What is the location? Is everything going to plan? And on top of that, if you're a freelance photographer and you work for yourself, you have even more decisions because there's a whole financial backing to it as well. And if that's handled poorly, that can lead you into financial stress and then ultimately just making you burn out, which is not good for anyone. I know it's probably a lot and I'm probably making it sound worse than what it is, but the point I'm trying to make is have a focused approach to the work you're going to do and dedicate your time to working on one aspect of photography at a time. Like I said before, you set some little goals, and that way this is going to allow your brain to soak up and maximize the information from each task. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 prizes to win. Yes, that's right. I'm giving away 3 Sony A7 Mark IVs, 3 of these Sigma 35mm, and 3 Vanguard camera bags. I opened this competition just over a week ago, and very little people have entered so far. So if you want to find out how to win one of these awesome prizes, I'll leave a link in my description on how you can enter. Best of luck. Can't wait to see your shots. Third point I want to talk about is not getting inspiration. Inspiration is the fuel that drives our creativity. When you're not actively seeking out inspiration, you risk falling into creative rut, which, believe me, I've been there. And it makes you feel like everything you go out and produce just feels like dog shit. And then you start questioning your abilities and then whether or not you're even cut out for photography at all. Inspiration is that bridge we build in our minds from where you are right now and the creative potential you want to unlock. In my experience, social media can be a good place to get inspiration, but overall, it is the worst place to get inspiration. It's overload. You're sitting there, you're scrolling, you're getting fed so many different things that your brain doesn't even know what to do with all that information. So then you get decision fatigue, where then you just don't want to do anything. When someone comes to me and says, Mike, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing with my photography, I'm losing inspiration, the first thing I say is, let me see your screen time. And 9 times out of 10, it's fucking diabolical. Magazines, local art museums, and books is a far better way to get a fresh mindset than scrolling socials. Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And also on top of that, Steal Like an Artist is a fucking phenomenal book. Definitely worth a read. What that phrase is referring to is taking inspiration or an idea that you like and making it your own. The phrase is meant to reassure artists that they don't have to stress too much about trying to create something that's never been done before, since pretty much every great piece of artwork has been taken from some source at some point. George Lucas stole many of the ideas that you see in Star Wars from other media sources, but he took all those ideas and made it into something of his own, rather than just copying your mate in school, changing a few words and then getting done for plagiarism, which may or may not have been me in school. But anyway, you get an idea, you break down the walls, you take away what you like, and you run with it. The fourth point I want to talk about, perfectionist mindset, which I know for a fact has affected you at some point. Perfectionism, I would like to believe that it's in all of us. It feels like it's almost part of human nature to want to strive for the best. It comes from a fear of failure and possibly the need for approval from others. And sometimes you just gotta say, fuck them. If I like it, then that's enough. Perfectionism can paralyze you and your work because it creates this unattainable standard of an idea that you're constantly trying to meet. What's happening over time is perfectionism is limiting your risk-taking and experimenting, which is the crux of creative growth. I mean, fuck, that's it right there. That is what creativity is built on. When you're afraid of making mistakes, you stick to safe, familiar techniques, which really stunts your growth as a photographer. And then on top of that, and something else that we're not really gonna get into, but perfectionism is really bad for your self-esteem because you're constantly measuring yourself against an unattainable image. So do something stupid and weird. People love weird shit. I mean, fuck, I love weird shit. I'm a weird guy. I do weird shit all the time. And that really helps when it breaks down the barriers of perfectionism. Done is better than perfect. And the last thing I want to talk about off the back of perfectionism is comparing yourself to others. We evaluate our own abilities and our worth by comparing ourselves to others, and now can be useful in some areas of life, but when it comes to photography or creativity, that's a big no. That is just gonna lead into you feeling like your work is not good enough, especially when you compare yourself to people who are more successful or more experienced in the same field as you. You are just setting yourself up for failure. We have a saying here in Australia, it's called pick a fucking lane, cunt. Imagine you are a horse with blinders on. You're in your lane. You're looking forward and that's it. You're not looking over here. You're not comparing yourself to that guy over there and what's over here? Oh, maybe I'll compare myself to that over there. No, okay, that's not healthy. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare your current work to your previous work, which is super motivating to do because that allows you to see how far you've grown over time and where your improvements have been and maybe where your mistakes have been and what you could probably do better. Good thing to remember is that every photographer and every artist in general has started at some point. We've all had to learn the ropes in our own ways and we've all gone down that same initial learning path. The difference is in what you prioritize. Hope some of those things can help with your process or not. Maybe this video has been a huge waste of time for you. And if that's the case, well, talk shit, loser.